So socks are really hot now. I'm just seeing all the different things that people could put on a sock. How many people have done socks before? All right, we're going to go ahead and start here. So, good afternoon. My name is David Gross with Condy Systems, and Jeff Butler is sort of my Ed McMahon here, great guy that helps with our Condy marketing. Three things. Number one is ask questions. So I can't promise I have an answer, but if you have a question and experience to share, I think I've got enough time to work those in. If it's something that I can't answer, may need to do it offline, or maybe I can find a resource for you. Yes, sir?
On the socks, can you do both sides, or does it look like the whole thing is all done as one?
His question is, can you do socks? Can you do both sides? So you do one side, flip it over, and do the other. To prevent a seam, you roll the sublimated side a little bit in so that the second side matches, with the first side so that you don't get a seam. Or if there is a seam, it's not noticeable.
Can you do a seam where it looks like it's been sewed up or something like that too?
Probably, yes, sir. Yes, sir. I haven't done that. That's a great idea. Okay. So number two is, yes, sir.
Do you have any examples of that downstairs to do?
We might. I think there are some socks in there you can look at. Number two is there will be prizes. So I figure a few people ought to benefit from sitting and listening to myself and Jeff. So 3 prizes. I love threes, by the way. Steve Jobs kind of 3 thing. Number one is you'll get an SG400 and Inks complete system. In other words, worth over $500. Number 2 is $250 Condy credit. Number 3 is $100 Condy credit. So all you need to do is put your business card in the bag. And if you don't have a business card, write your name down, and that will suffice. 1 entry per person. I did have a lady that dumped her entire business cards into the bag one time. So she did win. But obviously it's a little too late for me to figure out how she won. Number 3 is after the class, you're all invited back to our booth to have fun with our Condy kiosk. We can make stuff for you there at the kiosk right before you. It's cool. We do sell the kiosk. It's inexpensive, and it's good for people that have a storefront or set up at events. How many people have already done the kiosk thing? A couple of people. Okay. There's something else. I'm scatterbrained. Guarantee you that. Condy Client Gallery. So you can go see all these socks and everything else in the Condy Client Gallery. There are so many great examples of creativity out there from our clients. I am amazed. I'm left-handed. I'm an engineer. That's just not something that I was born with, but I tried to develop it, and certainly I can, hopefully see nice things now and recognize them. So it's just tremendous. People are always asking, what personal projects do I do when I do sublimation? I do a lot of sublimation. So Mardi Gras, and we're going to have a little door prize here. Where was the original home of Mardi Gras for this hemisphere? For this hemisphere. Yes, sir. No, sir. No, sir. Sorry. No, sir.
Trinidad.
For this hemisphere. No, sir. No. Mobile. So who said that? Okay. So you get a door prize. Let's see, $100 worth of Unisub products. Okay, good deal. So I do, Mardi Gras is a big deal in Mobile. So these are all big Chromolux panels, and I set them up every year, but the panels on this side are variable data, so they update for the people that are in our room. It's just a work of art. If you delivered it to a client, it's probably worth $1,000, something like that. And I can tell you the Mardi Gras organizations would pay it. It would be a really good thing. This is what I've done this year is I redesigned the koozie with the Mardi Gras organization's fall theme, which is Sweet Home Alabama, and just made a gorgeous koozie. I mean, you know, just a work of art, I think. Made this for the ladies. So I did have my little clicker here. Let me get my little clicker. I made this for the ladies. It's a unisub insert with a little pendant thing. Just a beautiful thing. I think it's going to be a big hit for this year. Oh yeah, let me go back to that. So the resources for this class that we're going to talk about, most of which can be found there. So write that down. I have put on that page my presentation, which will be up there for Monday. I'll put it up there Monday, but the last one I did is up there. Some of my favorite articles, some of the resources that I like the best. So please check it out. I think it's sort of an exclusive little thing just for y'all. New products. When I wake up in the morning, as weird as that is, I'm thinking about two things. What new products can we bring to market? And then number two is how can we help you make money? How can we help you succeed? And those are the two things. So on the product side, I've been working the last couple of years on really some incredible breakthroughs in sublimation coating, sublimation technology. We now have sublimation glass. It is a breakthrough in that it has the appearance of white. So we're able to finally sublimate what looks like white. And so that's the front side, that's the back side. So it's viewable from both sides. That piece of glass is in our booth if you want to go pick it up, see what it looks like. It's amazing. That same coating technology, which we call Color Light, we have now put on acrylic. So the acrylic just started shipping a couple of days ago. You can go see it in the booth, and we got a couple of pieces right here. And same technology, see it on both sides. You have the obvious appearance of white. So if you look at this, you know, it's white. So how cool is that? Now, you press this flat, and then with a little cooling jig, you let gravity curl. So an amazing product. There's another photograph. Obviously, weddings, things like that look really good. Reveal is also being demonstrated in our booth. That's our sublimation to cotton product. And again, it's a technology breakthrough from a company called Vivid Chemical, which were some former Sawgrass employees. And they, like me, they wake up in the morning drinking the sublimation coffee, and they wanted to sublimate the cotton. So it's a surface decorating technology like transfer paper. It works for white and light. Its amazing feature, it is what we call self-weeding, meaning, and Jeff's got some shirts we'll pass around, meaning there's no transfer residue. So if there isn't ink there, there isn't anything for you to see. You don't get to see that ugly emulsion layer. So you can come out up and see this. There's some examples of it. One of the things about Reveal is how many people do sublimation in here? Probably quite a few, yeah. In sublimation, just like cooking, you can be a little sloppy. You know, you've got a sweet spot to work with. But with the Reveal, you need to do it right. You need to do it 385, 18 seconds, heavy pressure, with nothing on top, in hot peel. You need to know that your press is really 385, so you've got to measure your plant temperature. The Reveal sweet spot is very narrow. You cannot be very off on your heat press. So we'll talk about calibrating your heat press a little bit. Do have some videos on that. Oh, what these are right here is, so a guy walked up to me at the Denver show, and he says, I got a great idea, I want you to pass it along to everybody. I said, great, because some people don't want me sharing their ideas, and I respect that. He says, I bought these little bags from Uline, used the Reveal, did some vintage photographs, and put potpourri in them and sell them for $20. Incredible idea. So you have essentially no cost in this, certainly less than $1, and you've got a very attractive product that's now worth a lot of money. Sandstone coasters. We coat them ourselves. They have been an amazing hit. We have struggled to keep up with the demand. So I apologize in advance if we've let people down because they have just been selling by the huge amounts. Yeti koozies. How many people have the Yeti revolution at your place? Yeah. So in certain states, they don't have that revolution, but in our neck of the woods, it does. And these are great ways to personalize your Yeti cooler, especially for the ladies.
Putting dry ice in water shows a solid transforming directly into a gas, a process called this.
So, funny clip. So what is sublimation? It's dry ice. It's moving from a solid state to a gas state without going through the liquid state. Sublimation was probably first observed in 1938 by some folks in the UK. They accidentally heated up some dyes, they stained some acetate materials, and then of course they did what good scientists do, they started patents. And so a few years later, when World War II started, came the invention of polyester. Polyester was an important invention, parachutes, that kind of stuff. And so ultimately they figured out that these naturally occurring dyes were attracted to oil-loving molecules like polyester. And it's really a process we would call diffusion. The gas diffuses into the molecular structure of polyester. And it's sort of like gravity. Nobody knows how gravity really works, but we learned to harness the power of gravity. So nobody really invented sublimation. We have just over these many years learned to harness it. So bring forward to the current era, now we have printers. They're inkjet printers. They use piezo print heads. Piezo print heads vibrate the ink out, where other printers are called thermal drop on demand, like HP and Canon, they boil the ink out. And so print heads or printers like Epson, Roland, Mamaki, Muto, Ricoh, all those folks use a print head that is compatible with sublimation ink. So nowadays we've got awesome printers. They're just fantastic compared to many years ago. And of course, so everything is sort of like a perfect storm. Everything has come together to make sublimation a very reliable and low cost and powerful decorating technology. So why sublimate? Well, you can see the reasons up there, but the best part is you can produce photographic quality products. You can produce only one. That's all you need. You can do it on thousands of substrates, and the kind of products that are typical in the sublimation world are highly profitable products. For instance, a cuff bracelet, typically that cost is a little over $1. You can sell those things for $20 to $25. So many products in the sublimation world have very attractive margins. So, look over. We do have some resources to help you price your products we'll talk about a little. Any questions here? So how did I get started doing this? I'm an electrical engineer. My first job was I helped invent some of the world's first monochrome laser printers. After that company was sold, I decided to get into something, and I was in love with color, digital imaging, and through some research 25 years ago, if you can believe that, I identified sublimation as the area I wanted to focus on. I just thought it was just an amazing technology, and I felt like it was going to go places. Well, the things I've done right in my life was marry the right woman, of course, and pick sublimation. So a couple of good things that I've done. So I started with sublimation. I started trying to document the things that were working, the things that were not working, and also the questions I had. And a little bit sort of like a modern day version of the bucket list. And ultimately, the folks that put on this show and have the magazine A&E, the Weavers, they allowed me to pretty much do whatever I wanted to do, so I taught for them, and I wrote lots of articles for them. One of the first things I started writing was the end piece for their publications, and it was my tips. And I sort of stopped with this version here, which is on that page that I sent you to, 101 tips and tricks for sublimation success. And as far as the continuation of this, I'm essentially finished with a book on sublimation that will be coming out hopefully late this year. So look for that. Speaking of the book, if you want to submit some success stories, we sent out an email recently to get on our email list, and I was asking for some success stories to include with the book. So ultimately, what I did was, I'll turn up the light just a little bit.
Hello, I'm Doug DeWitt.
Hi, I'm Brenda with Handy Systems.
I'm
David Gross with Condi Systems. Back with you to share a little bit of my wisdom for sublimation. Hey guys, Jeff from Condi Systems. Today I got a brand new product I want to show you. So Jeff gets credit for pushing us into videos. So videos turned out to be the ideal way for me to take our business and to take the help to you to the next level. I think we currently have about 1,300 videos. They're seen around the world. We get so many comments from all countries, you name it. We love to help people, whether you're a Condi client or not, be successful. And so that's what we live for, and the videos have just been really a lot of fun. So what I'd like to do in this class is go over my 3 Ps. The process, which I think most of you know, but maybe we'll add a little bit to it, the products, and then a few ideas for promotion. So the process first is really, again, 3 things. It's the computer, it's the printer, and it's the heat press. On the computer side, my best advice is RAM. So when you're buying a new computer, buy as much RAM as you possibly can, and then figure out how much more RAM you can add to it later on. RAM is the key to life. Every time Apple puts out a new release, every time Windows puts out a new release, they require more RAM. And so if you want to future-proof your computer, it's simple. Is buy something that can have a gargantuan amount of RAM. Also, protecting your computer through backups. If you're not backing up your computer, you should. You should have, for your business, you should have an external hard drive you rotate off-site every month, bring in a new one, do the same thing. In case there's an accidental delete, theft, fire, you name it. And then, of course, use a cloud backup system is also a wise thing. So protect your data. Nowadays, there's just no excuse for not doing that. Most of the computers have automatic backup systems. There's nothing to figure out. Windows has its file history. Apple has its time capsule. So if you're not doing it, please make a note and go do it today. Also, get you a UPS. UPS is a very inexpensive way to protect your computers and printers from power outages, from things that really bother computers and bother printers. Don't hook up a laser printer to a UPS. A laser printer takes too much power. And so for $50 or $60, you can do it. I like the brand APC, American Power Conversion, and I like it because you can change the battery when the battery needs to be replaced. Questions here? So I'm both a Mac and PC person. My first Mac was a Lisa, but in today's world, Windows is probably the way to go for Corel, but don't want to insult anyone.
Yeah, just a recommendation too. Solid state hard drive would be amazing as well. Like the new Macs, they come with 5400 RPM hard drives, which are awful. Like spend the extra $100, get a Fusion or a solid state hard drive.
So his comment is hard drive technology. For a gazillion years, we've been using electromagnetic hard drive technology. Solid state is now the way to go. It's sort of like a glorified flash drive. And so my MacBook here, which I'm running Windows on it right this second, has a solid state drive. And that means it can take a lot more abuse than a typical mechanical drive. So it's now a little bit of a premium, but solid state drive certainly makes a lot of sense. Let's talk about printers. So over the years, we've had to provide printers for sublimation. I used to joke that I was going to bring out sublimation markers, and I am one of these days. But for today, we use a computer, we print to a printer, and then we heat press it. The printer needs to be running sublimation ink. So obvious, that's why we call it sublimation. No, you can't do sublimation with normal ink. That doesn't work. So we need to provide you, and each of you, with an incredibly reliable printer so that you can buy lots of blanks from us. So that's our goal in life, is to make sure you're reliable, you know what you're doing, we can help you through the process. So today's printers have many years of experience in life. They're made by Ricoh. These printers are probably about the 4th generation of them. They're incredible printers. They're workhorses. They're extremely cost effective. They're reliable. We know how to support them. And so there are two. There's a small one. The small one does up to 8.5 by 14. The big one with the bypass tray will do 13 by 21. They print the same as far as their print quality. One of the great things about sublimation, if you spend the least amount of money or you spend the most amount of money, the print quality, the color is all very, very good. So you don't get to, have to worry about, okay, I should have bought a better printer with better quality. It's really a matter of size. The second you say the word apparel, you need to buy the bigger printer. The little one with its size is just not going to be adequate. But for the vast majority of substrates, the little one is a great way to start. Questions about the printers? All right, so as I mentioned, with printers are also scalable. So nowadays, if you want to, you can buy printers that are the size of this room. We call them grand format printers. They're used in trade show, exhibits, things like that. A very common next step up size is a 44-inch printer. Muto and Epson, Roland, Mamaki, all those companies provide what we call a large format printer. I love this printer here. It's one off the beaten path, if you will, but you will see it downstairs in a number of booths. And the reason is, it is the simplest printer, it is the easiest printer to maintain, and it is the printer with the most freedom. So one of the things that we try to avoid is being trapped in any way, being trapped with the brand of ink you're using or whatever. So this printer has refill cartridges. You can pour whatever ink into it. We would like you to pour ink into it that we support, of course, because we've got color profiles and we know it's reliable and we stand behind it. But ultimately, you're not trapped. So this is the workhorse printer. By the way, this is probably the last printer on the earth, in our world at least, that you can actually maintain yourself. You can actually replace the print head yourself. All the other printers that are out there, it probably takes an hour just to get to the print head, literally an hour. So much disassembly required. This one, you just slide it over and you can pop the print head out. So in South America, Central America, they have farms of this printer. Epson is now in the game with their F-series printers. They are fantastic printers. And if you buy one, that's great. You will not be, you'll have made a good decision. I like the Muto better because it's simpler, a little bit more freedom, and great quality printers. So bottom line is we've got some great choices. This is a little printer. It's in the medium size printer. It's also made by Muto. We have one in our booth. This printer is unique in that it is a complex printer, but for people that are doing photo quality, archive quality, the high-end photography on Chromolux, there is nothing that is better than this. It has the most sharpest dots, the clarity of any printer out there. There's nothing better than it. It's an 8-color printer. It has a tuned ink set for the Chromolux world. The Chromolux world is an incredible viral metal revolution out there. And people, Jeff, you went to Miami, and what did you see?
Saw them everywhere. And the price range from, and this is with artists with original art on them, and they range from $500 to $2,500, and these are 20 by 30 panels, metal panels.
Awesome. So incredible. So it's our go-to printer for a person that says, you know, I want the very best in Chromolux. For along, and you got a slide about the ink sets. We can help you through all understanding that. But the 628 printer is sort of like a Swiss Army knife. It can be adapted depending on what your needs are, what markets you wish to serve. We'll navigate through that for you. Ink. Ink is our active ingredient. As we'll get to, the paper is just used to carry the ink from the printer to the heat press. And so these inks have many, many years of development of what I call Kaizen, which is the Japanese word for incremental improvements. They're just fantastic inks. And a lot of ink development is still ongoing today. We're pushing it. We push every day. For instance, pushing sublimation outdoors. So I think this year, maybe next, we'll have an outdoor Chromolux kind of solution that's like a 5-year solution. It'll be amazing. So the inks need to be very stable. They need to have a wide color gamut. They need to be easy on the printer. So just a bunch of things that are constantly on our mind to keep getting better at. One of the little inventions I came up with some time ago was to help remind you of what the use-by dates are of your inks. It is important you keep up with them because these inks are complicated, and over time the dyes start falling out of suspension and the inks will weaken. So this is a little piece of metal you put on the front of your printer. It's free. We'll give it to you. And then we include little stickers with our inks so that you can keep up with the use-by dates. Paper. As I mentioned, paper is not an active ingredient. So paper, for doing the best with sublimation, needs to keep the dots as sharp as they can, and it needs to let go of the ink when we heat it. And so we don't want the ink to seep too far down in the paper because then more effort is required to get it out. We also want the heat to be thermally stable under the heat press. In other words, if the paper shrinks, that's bad because you're going to get a little blur or a double take. So over the years, we have not tinkered very much with paper. We've just kept it very stable so that it isn't a wild card for you. It's not something to worry about. So now what we do is we cut our paper into many different sizes so that your paper usage is minimal. You're not wasting paper. For instance, we have mug sizes and things like that. So if you go down to the kiosk, I'm running 2 sizes of paper for 2 different sizes of products we're sublimating. And so it's just very helpful. Keep that in mind. Also, I did it for myself because I'm left-handed, and us lefties have a little problem with scissors. So the last thing I wanted to do was cut paper. Heat presses. So I bet a lot of people have heat presses in here. In general, there are 2 kinds of heat presses. There are clamshell, they close like this, and then there are swing-aways that do like that. In the sublimation world, we greatly prefer swing-aways. Swing-aways have very even pressure coming down. Usually a swing-away press puts out more heat. And so think of it this way. You're at your stove and you got a little burner and you got a big burner. Well, you know the big burner is going to cook the food faster. And so that's what you really want. You want a big burner heat press so it's going to cook your sublimations thoroughly and quickly. You know, so for instance, if you get home and your husband, wife, whatever, bought you a little Coleman stove, well, it's at the same temperature as maybe your burner, but you know it's going to be ridiculously hard to cook things that require a lot of time and temperature. So the brand of heat presses that we prefer are a USA brand, George Knight. George Knight is the oldest heat press manufacturer in the world except for one. There is Monte Antonio in Italy, I believe, is older. They are 125 years old, something like that. And they're a very small company. They make essentially what I would refer to as military-grade heat presses. They're built like tanks, and that makes them very heavy as well. We've worked with them for many years. When I snap my fingers, they jump. And so they're just a great company to work with, a true American marvel, if you will, at just making a great product. So in the picture here, I've shown sort of a sequence. So at the bottom left, you'll see the JP14. We have one in our booth, and that is a light-duty portable heat press. It is sort of a make-believe heat press. It is not going to make a good shop press because it simply doesn't put out enough heat. And you can judge sometimes the heat output by how many amps it draws. It's a wimpy heat press, but it gets the job done for many substrates like our Dyflex plastic, some of the metal, hardboard stuff. It absolutely gets the job, but it's probably not the right press for ceramics, for glass, for slate, things like that. And moving up the line here is the press that pretty much I would recommend for everybody. It's the DK20S. It's a 16 by 20 swing away, and it's the go-to press. It's probably the most popular press in the sublimation world. Anybody have a, okay, gotcha. So, if I have a clamshell press, should I go out and buy a new press? The answer is no. Use the press you have. Do not go out and buy a press just because you got excited about sublimation or whatever. Your press is probably quite adequate for everything you'll want to do. And then when you're successful and making lots of money, you can decide if you want a new press. But let's help you with your clamshell. Often I can help people with the laws of physics with a clamshell by pushing things to the back of the press because it closes, sooner than the front. So there's all sorts of tricks that we can do. But the bottom line is you should be fine. I helped design this press. This is that medium-sized press that goes along with the 628. So that medium-sized area is really growing. A lot of people take interest in it because you can do pretty big stuff. You can do a small format. You can do the car mats. You can do we have a new flooring product coming out late this year. So there's just all sorts of things that this press solves. So it's a relatively inexpensive press, very heavy duty, designed for the toughest substrates out there. And it goes very well with a 24-inch printer. Pillowcases, beautiful. Full to the car mats. Heat press accessories. So if you're starting out in sublimation, one of the wise things you should do is go ahead and get all the standard heat press accessories. Instead of waiting when you get that piece of slate in, you read the instruction, it says I need a green pad. So well, how can I do it without a green pad? Well, bottom line is you really need to do it right. So we can direct you to the normal heat press accessories like a vapor foam kit for shirts, like a green pad, a Nomex pad, things like that. Relatively inexpensive. The note here is avoid evil Teflon. So in some industries, people use Teflon all the time. I was watching the rhinestone people that are across the hall, and they're using it for everything they do. But in the sublimation world, Teflon is just pure evil. So you can sublimate to Teflon, and it will get on the next thing it touches. And so you shouldn't use Teflon. Also, if you put Teflon on the top, it acts as a moisture barrier, trapping moisture under it. And moisture is the evil enemy of sublimation. So moisture will screw up everything. So just avoid it. I use Teflon for 3 products, and I use it for the Mates material, which is an old sticker kind of material. I use it for the sublimatable patches because they have a heat-activated back to them. And then I use them for the new oven mitts because the back of the oven mitt has that little silvery stuff that will stick. But that's it. So if you want to know more about how much I hate Teflon, just come and I'll tell you more. Uncoated white butcher paper. I buy mine at Sam's Club. You need to get a roll of it. You use it top and bottom. It's inexpensive. It's real important. If you have an accident, which I do on a regular basis, cleanup on aisle 3 is very easy. You just pick it up, drop it in the trash can, and move on. So, easy. Sublimating mugs. How many people do mugs in here? So mugs are big business. I would have never believed mugs would have kept growing like they are, but every year we sell just a gazillion blank mugs. And drinkware, that whole category has just continued to grow. Bottom line is there's sort of, two ways to do mugs. One is with a mug press like that. That is a Made in USA. It's a DK3 from George Knight. It is the best mug press on the planet. Just a stellar mug press. And then the second way to do mugs is with an oven. And an oven is very useful. And most people probably should invest in one of these small ovens because you can do so many products in that oven, like dog bowls, big steins, odd-shaped mugs, things like that. So it's quite useful, and so I would recommend it. Don't use the oven for food, though. It's not interchangeable. Very, very unwise to do that. And really, the part B of the oven is a big conveyor oven. So the big boys and big girls that do thousands of mugs a week, they use a conveyor. So they put the wraps on there, and a wrap is just basically holding the paper tight against the mug, and you run it through a conveyor, and out the other end, they're cooked, and you take the wrap off, take the transfer paper off, and you're done. And so we can help you with any of those things. Can you use just a normal oven you buy at Lowe's or Home Depot? Yes. They work great. Most of the ovens now are fancy. They have convection, air movement in there. They have very consistent. Can you use a toaster oven? No. Yes, sir.
What's the name of that mug press again?
It's the George Knight DK3. Now I'm going to show you in this slide yes, ma'am.
Some mugs, I have different mugs at home that I purchase, and we do not do mugs yet. And I realize that some of them, they peel off all the designs, and I have others that do not. Why? What's the difference?
Her question is, she has a mug that the design seems to peel off. In sublimation, the design is not coming off. You've sublimated the ink into the coating, and that coating is going to stay on the mug until the mug disintegrates, the handle breaks, things like that. So sublimation mugs are indeed extremely tough. But I suspect yours was done with a decal paper. Could be a water slide. It could be some of the transfer papers. There are hard surface transfer papers out there. So hard to say. But if you buy a good quality sublimation mug, then it's going to be nice and straight. It's going to hold up very well in the dishwasher. Yesterday we were playing over in the rhinestone booth. They're really neat guys over there. And he was trying to demonstrate how his putting rhinestones on the mug held up in the dishwasher. And Matt over there is a really cool guy. And he put his GoPro camera in the dishwasher with a light so he could watch the dishwasher against the mug. And I've never seen that before. Really cool. So things are good in the sublimation world in the dishwasher. The biggest thing in the dishwasher, believe it or not, is abrasion. Those powders that are in dishwasher powders, that's how it cleans dishes, is with abrasion. So we held up very well. Buy a good mug. This is a new press that will be out next month. It is for doing conical or tapered shaped mugs, like this. The latte mugs. And very, very popular. And I asked George Knight to come up with their quality press. The good news is it does a great job. The bad news is it doesn't do straight mugs. So ultimately, if you want to do conical and normal mugs, you need two presses. 3D. 3D is another way to do sublimation. So this is a heat press, if you will, except it pulls a vacuum. It takes the transfer and pulls a vacuum around the substrate that you're pressing to, like a plate, like a cover, foam cover, and it sublimates to it with a heat on the top. Most of the presses that are out there that are like this are Chinese presses. You can walk this show and see one or two of them. They are junk. They should be avoided. They are very difficult to get consistent results. And some friends in Europe sent me this one. I really like it, and I hate people to come to me and says, well, I spent my money on equipment that doesn't work. This works exceptionally well. It's probably not the first thing you should get into because a flat press and sublimation can make you a lot of money. But if you're bound and determined to do the full bleed cases, plates, and other things, this puppy works. It's about $4,500. Made in the Netherlands. Cool plate. One of the production accessories for people that do double-side product is the cool plate. Cool plate allows you to, like press one side of a bag tag, let it cool really quick, and then press the second side. So time is money, and this is a very helpful accessory for reducing your production times. Metal fabrication. So how many people in here are awards and engravings folks? All right, so you've got a shear, I'm sure. And so, okay. So in the trophy world, it's very common to cut your own plates and to fabricate your own metal, and we carry those accessories as well. They can be very helpful for you to take advantage of your leftovers, to make custom products, a custom size for your client, and those opportunities are out there. So this is just the sort of portfolio of the kinds of things that are out there. The top one is it puts a radius corner on your metal instead of a sharp corner. A punch allows you to punch a hole in it so that you put a little ribbon through, maybe hang it on the wall, things like that. Shear for cutting it, and the roller for putting a curve. I've got a video I'm going to show in just a second on using that roller. All right, let's get to actually doing our first transfer, which many of you have already done. Time, temperature, pressure, and technique. Those are our 4 variables. And we put everything together, we put it in the press, and we cook it. I want you to note down here towards the bottom, black test. So in the world of sublimation, especially when you're doing your sublimation on a new substrate or just when you're starting off, black is the last color to sublimate. So if you're getting a good, deep, rich black, then you're probably dialed in. So that's where you want to calibrate to. So for instance, doing mugs, you can do your black test, and you want to push the envelope until sort of the back of the mug starts turning brown. And that's because the extremities of the mug receive the least amount of heat. And then you're dialed in. So you reach that point probably like 4.5 minutes, something like that, possibly towards 5. But that you want to dial it in, and then what do? Well, you document it so that you've got your instructions down pat, what is working for you. But that black test is what we're after. We're after that deep rich. Often you can look at the transfer paper and see if you've done a good job. Typically on most substrates, we're looking at 10-15% ink left. Had a lady come up to me yesterday. She said, things aren't working. I'm having lots of problems, and she was ready. She knew how to communicate with me. She brought her transfers and said, here are my transfers after I press. What's wrong? I said, well, the ink is still on the paper. So it's time, it's temperature, it's pressure. So I analyzed it. I believe she needed to go measure her plating temperature because she's probably 30 or 40 degrees under where she thinks she is. And so by providing good information to me, by documenting your successes and failures, then we have a really good chance of helping.
Hi, I'm County Systems, and today we're going to be introducing our newest Unisub product. This is our Chromolux piece, and what's so cool about it is that it has Chromolux coating on both sides. So we'll be able to do 2 different images, and then we'll be using this is our Ackie Cutter Precision Roller. We're going to be creating a bend and making a self-standing photo frame. I brought one with me that I already pressed. You can see that we are able to do 2 really neat looking images. Chromolux is always just a very nice, high quality product. And I have some other examples out here. So let's get started with the press. I've brought my piece of Chromolux. I have 2 different images, and I'm going to be pressing those at the same time. So I brought some Pro Spray to help. You can cut your images if you would like. You do not have to. And a sheet of protective paper. So So what we're going to do first is lightly mist our image so that we can apply the substrate. So I'm going to grab some County Dytrans Pro Spray, lightly mist over my image, and we'll be able to apply our piece of Chromolux. Nice and centered. Do the same thing with my other image. You want to be sure to do this over a trash can, for example, just anything so that you're not going to ruin your floor surface, because the Pro Spray can be very sticky and it can build up and ruin your floor surface. What I'll do next is on my other side. You can do a fold if you like. I happen to have my images cut for me, but either way, whatever makes you feel comfortable, as long as you have them perfectly aligned. So I'm going to open my press first. Grab a sheet of protective paper. If it's large enough, you might need a couple of sheets. I'm going to just fold this over since I'm only doing one item right now. I'll grab my dual-sided piece of Chromolux, fold over my protective paper, make sure that I can cover both sides.
Very stingy with the paper there.
See, just the right size. We're going to do a press today. We're going to do both sides at one time. You'll want to refer to the instructions for the most current updates and also what's going to work with you and your equipment. So we're going to give this a quick press. We'll let it cool, and we'll move on to the really fun part, which is actually giving it a nice bend. And that sound means we're done, so let's lift and swing away on our press.
On the top of the press, you can see the paper. That's simple instructions for like metal, FRP, that kind of thing. Just tape to the top.
Burn away. We'll give it some time to cool, and then we'll be able to move on to actually making it stand up by itself. Now that our piece of Chromolux has had time to cool, we get to move on to the fun part, which is using our Ackie Cutter precision roller. And we do have a video with all the details and information, so you want to be sure to check out that video as well. And what we're going to do today is we're going to create a nice bend, and we'll have a self-standing image. With the Ackie Cutter precision roller, today I've already had it set to all of the different settings that I'm going to need as far as my thickness and my size and my curve go. Again, check out that video because it will tell you everything you need to know about this roller. But for right now, with it already adjusted, I'm going to place my piece of metal in, and we'll be able to do a crank. It's very easy to do. You'll see that it starts forming a nice curve. Give it a few rotations, and that's going to give it the final look. We finished our product today, and again, this is the first time we've had Chromolux in two sides, and it's a very, very hot new item. We have 4 different sizes available, so be sure to check all of them out. And again, also watch the video on how to use this Ackie Cutter precision roller because it is a very cool tool. For all of our tips, products, and services, be sure to check out our website at county.com and watch more of my videos at countytv.com. I'm Radio County Systems, and thank you for joining us.
Hollywood magic.
Yeah, during Brittany's pregnancy, we received emails all around the world, and everybody felt obligated to begin a naming contest for her baby. And the one over the top was Sublimation. Had a question? Yes, ma'am.
When you print an image like that, or you do something double-sided, do you have to reverse it to print it, or?
You reverse
mirror?
it.
Okay.
It is mirrored. Her question was, do we mirror image? We mirror image everything except glass and acrylic. I can't think of a third.
And yes, she did transfer that upside down.
Yeah. So we'll get to that. But I'm glad you're paying attention. I think I missed that. Want to cover just a couple of my favorite tips. Why do we have a tip? Well, if we have tips, they help us to reduce our mistakes. They help us to save money and just simply be very efficient. And so tips are incredibly important, and that was the basis of my first article. The first tip is the most important, and that is document. Document your successes and failures. Once a week, I'll get a call from a very good client of ours, and they'll say, Dave, things aren't working anymore. And I'll ask them what's changed, and they won't tell me. And finally I'll say, look, what's going on? Tell me. He says, well, we lost our operator. She got pregnant, whatever, or somebody left, and now I'm picking up the pieces. And I said, well, did you have your instructions written down? Did you have operating manual? Did you have any kind of instructions? They said, well, no, we've never done that. She knew everything. She took care of everything. She figured it out. And so it's just so important to write down what's working for you. And then when you call tech support, you do have a problem. Well, guess what? I'm going to ask you, what other questions do you have written down so we can make the most of the call? What other things are on your mind? Can I sublimate the cotton? Whatever it is, let's talk about it at that time. We have great instructions and videos. The videos are good for a visual understanding of how to do the sublimation, but the instructions are the Bible. The instructions are kept up to date. Obviously, we can't change a video every couple of days, but the instructions we can. So when something changes with the substrate, or we simply find a better way to do something, guess what? We're going to document the instructions. Sometimes the instructions read like old VCR instructions. Sorry about that. Sort of the nature of it, trying to describe how to package everything, what goes on top. This is the tabs that are underneath the product where you would go on our website to buy it. These are the tabs there. Great place to start. Templates, of course, very important. We're going to talk about those in a minute. But this is where the instructions actually live. Yes, we do have a big PDF of all the instructions together if you wanted to essentially, okay. Jeff, okay, we're back. If you wanted to essentially download one time. Great suggestion for new folks. So I have talked to a few people at the show already, and they're trying to, the best way to describe it is, Jeff, let me hand you. Okay. The best way to describe it is they're trying to learn to drive a car by getting on the interstate at the first moment. That's crazy. We all need to learn to back out the car, go around the neighborhood a little bit, and so having stuff to practice with is absolutely critical. It's crazy to waste expensive products. So we cost reduce these starter kits to give you the opportunity both to experience a new product, check it out, and also just simply practice. And so if I'm doing something on an expensive piece of substrate, I'm going to transfer it first to something inexpensive just to verify I like the look. Wall of shame. Yes, sir.
You mentioned the UV light a little bit before. If you do it on a piece of metal and it's outside, does that fade because of the sun?
His question is why do things fade outside? Sublimation things fade outside. Two reasons. One is we use heat to put the ink in the first place, so heat takes it out. So once you raise the substrate's ambient temperature to a high temperature like you have in the summer in Florida, Jeff, let me go. So once you raise the temperature to a high substrate, 100 degrees, and it stays like that for a long time, then the ink is going to become active again, and it's going to start gassing out. It's going to have dye migration. So you need to be aware that that's going to happen. As we progress outdoors, there will be a point where sublimation begins to last longer and longer. So number one is the dye migration. Number two is the UV. Most substrates have an extremely good UV package in them. So if you buy for instance, the Universal Woods outdoor metal, it'll have a yellow peel coat. Anybody done Unisub tags with the yellow? Well, anyway, there's a yellow peel coat. That yellow peel coat signifies that you're using the outdoor version of the metal. So in Florida, southern facing exposure, license plate, I would say, is pegged at about 18 months. A photograph might last a little shorter, but a graphic would tend to last longer because as things fade, the magenta fades first, giving it a cyan tint, with a graphic, you really can't remember what it used to look like, so it seems to have a longer apparent life. So, post your mistakes. So us guys, when we make a mistake, we want to forget it, hide it, throw it away, and that's the wrong thing to do with sublimation. You need to acknowledge your mistakes and remember. For instance, I used to do a lot of plaques, and on the back of the plaque is a keyhole. You literally have a 50-50 shot at doing it right. And so if you don't look, well, you know, half of them are going to be bad. I had a guy at a class like this. He walked up to me and says, "Dave, I have fixed that problem. It will never happen to me again." I said, "Please tell me your solution so I can pass it along." He says, "I bought the machine for cutting the hole." When we do sublimation and we open our press, air rushes in. And if we're not careful, the transfer will flutter a little bit and it will land in a new spot where it's still very hot. And when it lands in a new spot, it will begin to sublimate again, and it will cause a shadow print or a double take. So we need to anchor our transfer. There are 3 ways really to anchor it. One is with heat tape. Heat tape works on many substrates, but it doesn't work very well on fabrics or mouse pads. So we use a second technique called Pro Spray. Pro Spray we invented many years ago. It's a tack spray that pretty much burns off after sublimation, but it does its job of holding the paper to the substrate. Nobody likes Pro Spray, but it's one of those necessary evils. And so if you're doing a lot of pressing of stuff, you build it a little cardboard box so you can stick it in and spray it. It's very helpful. The third way is through finesse, by just carefully opening your press. And so if you can open your press without shaking it or whatever, then you're probably going to be okay. So many things can be done upside down, like our Dyflex, and so the Dyflex is acting sort of as a paperweight because it's on top. So at any rate, bottom line is you need to master it. If you have a young person that's doing your sublimation, they're going to be distracted with their phone, and you need to take all cautions to anchor the transfer. Taking care of your printer. We can help you take care of your printer if you want to know how. If you don't want to know how, great, then don't worry about it. But if you want to extend the life of your printer, we can show you the parts that can be cleaned. We have videos, we have great resources because we're a highly technical company. And so call us, we can talk to you about, you know, what it is. The 2 things on the current Ricos and Virtuosos, the capping station and the transport belt. That's a picture of the belt. You clean it with denatured alcohol. It's easy to clean. The capping station you clean with simple green and water. The capping station is the printer's drain. So those are things that would be helpful if you knew how to do, because probably you're going to need to do them unless you just simply want to throw away the printer and buy another one. By the way, I peg the life of a printer at 3 years. And so I'm sorry, that's what it is. You can talk to your printer and talk nice to it, and you can get more life out of it. I kid you not. You know, I'll talk to a person and I can judge how they are and their demeanor, and I can tell you, you know, is the printer behaving or not, but printers have feelings. Troubleshooting. There's a couple of troubleshooting slides in here, but the biggest troubleshooting is banding. Banding can be caused by incomplete nozzle check. It can be caused by wrong printer settings. It can be caused by alignment, and it can be also caused if your computer just needs to be rebooted. So if your printer is doing updates, you're doing all these things with it, you don't have enough RAM, guess what? It can't send data fast enough to the printer. So the printer's got a print head that's in motion, it doesn't have enough data, guess what? It's got to stop and then wait for more data and then start again. That's going to cause a banding. And you can hear it. It's pretty obvious. If you hear the printer pausing, it's not the printer. Heat press maintenance. So, yes, you need to take care of your heat press, and there's a couple of things I certainly recommend. You need to lubricate it. You go to the store, auto parts, get you some high temp grease. Go to an oil change place, tell them to put you a little of that grease in a little cup or something. But the bottom line is the moving parts on your heat press need to be lubricated. I also recommend when you buy a heat press, and every 6 months, measure the plate temperature. It's real important that you know if your press is working correctly. Also, I can give you a little instructions on helping you determine if your press is closing evenly. If your press isn't closing evenly, then guess what? You won't have even contact. And that means you got to use more pressure than you normally would to make it close. Now, will your evenness change over time? Of course. Every time you close it, those bolts give just a little bit that are holding things together, and your press can get way out of whack in a year's time, especially if you're using too much pressure. Us guys tend to want to use a lot of pressure, and so you can cause your press to have some accelerated wear and tear if you're not careful. So those are the tips I think that are important. Questions? Yes, sir.
I have a question. Do you recommend, that you print the paper for sublimation and right there go to do the sublimation? Or can you print one day and something like that?
So his question is, a good question is, I've just printed my transfer. How long do I have before I need to press it? I say a week, something like that. In the case of the reveal, you need to print and transfer right away. There's something weird about the film and ink on the reveal, so you do need to transfer right away. But typical transfers, absolutely a week. Some people will shelve them and go even longer than that. I would say, it's a judgment call, but if you had transfers that you couldn't press right away, like overnight, I'd say put them in a Ziploc bag to protect them from dust and moisture, kind of thing. Pressing related issues, time, temperature, pressure, technique. We're a pretty good judge of the kinds of things that, when they go wrong, what they look like. But unevenness, if the press is closing in one corner, not the other, it's going to be darn obvious. So we can help you with these issues. But the good news is pressing is not rocket science. It's very much like cooking. Right ingredients, press long enough, and you're going to be good. There's only a few substrates out there that are difficult, that have a small sweet spot. To me, slate is one of those products. You have to do slate right. If you press it too long, it will not look correctly. If you press it not long enough, you're going to have problems. So, but once you figure out your recipe, guess what? Write down, keep doing it. Number 2P is the products, and this is probably the most exciting part, and that is the wide world of products. I'm not going to really cover it, although I'm going to give you a few things to think about, and that is just, we create the product. So sublimation is a necessary means to an end. What we're all here for is to create beauty, create great products that will feed our families, that will make us lots of money, that will make our clients happy. It all starts with what I call base substrate. So all our products are made of something, They could be made of fabric, they could be hardboard, FRP, ceramic, porcelain, metal, acrylic, glass. These are all things. So it's our job to essentially turn these substrates into something you sell to your client. For instance, this acrylic is coated in sheets by us, and then we laser cut it into the shapes and sizes that you see. I have a great article at the link I gave you that educates you about some of the acronyms we use. One of the things about a new field is you get thrown all these acronyms, and you need a helping hand to know what they are. So we teach you that. But more importantly, as you progress in your sublimation world, this knowledge will help you be able to fabricate your own products, make your own products. Because if you have access to an overhead router, to a laser, guess what? Some of these products will fit in there very well. Certain products can be laser cut, rotary cut, and so we can guide you with what methodology to fabricate your own products. I had a client, and we were talking about the steak place, Roadhouse Grill. And I said, you ought to really make a call on those people and sell them a name badge. They really need one. And so we talked about the shape, and I'm not positive it was this client, but I turned around next time I went there, they were using a sublimated name badge in the shape of their logo. It was very attractive. And if you do that, you probably have had that client for life if you continue supplying them. So being unique, you know, I tell people be unique or be extinct. There's a picture of the socks there, and socks, of course, are big. But it's just showing you the variety of products that fit into the sublimation world, from fabrics to, and that's a tumbled stone tile, I believe, and then those are the Dyflex inserts in a foam case. Moving to software. So yes, we need software, and how many people in here are Corel folks? Okay, so a fair number. So I really don't care what software you use, but the better you are at using the software, obviously the better products you can deliver to your clients. So the quality of your designs, the quality of your color selection, all that is going to separate you from everybody else. And so as far as a base, if you have no software at all, the printers all come bundled with what's called a Creative Studio license. It's a really cool cloud-based designer, uses the internet, uses your browser, and it has Corel features. But many people will benefit by just learning to use Corel and Photoshop. So typically I use Corel and Photoshop together in my daily designs. Questions, comments?
There's really no preference to software though. Any?
I would say there is. So the preference would be for Corel Draw. So for our industry, to a large extent in the Windows world, Corel is our go-to tool. If you've got a Macintosh and you don't want to run Windows, then Illustrator is fantastic. So if you run into Illustrator person, you're never going to change their mind. They're going to use Illustrator till the day they die. But in the case of somebody starting out, I would say if you don't know any software, consider using Creative Studio. It's easy to learn to do. You're making products. And I tell you what better motivation to learn software is if you're already making stuff and making money. So that helps a lot. So ultimately, Corel Draw. If you walk the show here and you go from booth to booth, you're going to hear the same thing. They're gonna preach the merits of Corel.
But as to the color printout from the printer, is it?
So Corel is going to be our tool for picking our colors, and then we're going to print using our Conde ICC profiles that give you the best color fidelity and details. Yes, sir.
If you know Adobe, like Illustrator or Photoshop, and Corel Draw, and you have skills with both, do you get a better product, or is it easier, or what's the difference in there?
So his question is, as far as output, things like that, I would say that that being biased, so I'm biased to begin with, I would say Corel would be a better tool. The reason is Corel better integrates, in my opinion, which isn't necessarily worth anything, for raster and vector elements. So Corel doesn't have the scenario that Adobe has, Illustrator, Photoshop. Got two different products, and they have to keep making money from those two products. Corel just has Corel Draw. And so it's a more seamless fit with raster and vector elements. It also can do something Illustrator can't do. It can operate on multiple color spaces at the same time. So you can mix an RGB and a CMYK object into a graphic together. Can't do that in Illustrator as far as I know. So, but either one, you're way up there on the ladder of success with either Corel or Illustrator. By the way, let's say you say, this isn't for me, I can't figure it out, I don't want to learn either one of them, then go out and find you a starving artist. They'll be glad to help you. And I have my number of starving artists that I call upon to help me with my designs, because I'm just not a good designer. I can mechanically do it, but I'm not artistic.
College students are.
Oh, absolutely. College students are great. A great book for Corel, written by a good friend of mine, Roger Wambach, and he'll be teaching for us, has a webinar coming up, which is on our website, somewhere on our Facebook page. It's free. Just a great, so that's a great book. Jeff, do we have some of these books in the booth? So if you buy a printer from us, we'll give you a book. So it's a great tool. This is the first book in the case of Corel that talks to me. The other books have been sort of like an encyclopedia, just didn't get anything out of it. But I really like this. We also asked your Condi reps for some free private web links on his training. Yes, ma'am.
If we buy a printer from you, how long more or less to get it?
We have the books in the booth.
So the printers, we have printers in the booth for sale, and they would ship from Mobile if we didn't have a printer. Mobile to here is probably 2 days, something like that. This is what I was talking about with Creative Studio. This is the software that's free. It's a cloud-based designer, and the folks at Sawgrass are really working hard to get to a Corel level with this software. So for folks that don't own any software, that are unsure they want to spend any money on software, again, it's a great way to start. iOS, Android, very interesting new way to do software. So on your iPad, on your iPhone, there is a fantastic application for building monograms, chevron patterns. It's fantastic. The software that I like is by Yellow Lab. It is amazing. So you design it right there in front of them or whatever, and then you push save, you save it to your photos. You're saving a 4x6 300 dpi JPEG, and then you move it to your computer for sizing and printing. Just an amazingly easy. So if I had to do that on a PC, it would take me too long. Jeff does it really fast, but I'm slow at doing it because I got to remember everything. He's just very good because of his flea market days. So that's a great solution. Next thing is green screen. Throwback from the past, folks, go get you a green sheet, put it up, get you a background, head to an event or something like that, and you can have a lot of fun, make a lot of money, and all you need really is your iPhone and the app. So there are green screen apps. The one I like, gosh, you have to ask me later, can't quite remember it, GS Wizard, something like that. It's on the Apple, but it is amazing. You build your background, it's a photo, you tell the photo to be your background, you take the picture, it merges the two, and you're done. Absolutely cool. The kiosk. So I've already talked a little bit about the kiosk. It's packaged now. I think we sell it for $200. We'd give it away, but if we did, nobody'd think it was valuable. And the bottom line is it takes some support on our part to install it and to maintain it, but it is cool. The kiosk only does one thing. It doesn't do two things. It only does one. It is a slick, painless way to get the photo from somebody's phone to your computer without any hassle. That's all it does. The rest is up to you. You would then open the photo on your computer. You'd say, is this what you want? You size it and print it. But it is a slick way to get that phone. You can just imagine, well, email it to me, text me, well, let me connect the cable. All those are painful ways, and guess what? When you start talking about those, they just walk away. So with this way, it's easy. If they're not computer literate or whatever, you just say, hand me the phone, okay, show me the photo you want, push, and you got the photo. Color. So color is probably one of the most important things at Condi. It's something that we've invested in for years, and we're unique compared to everybody else in the sublimation world. We have our own color department. We produce our own ICC color profiles. The ICC color profiles allow you to do one thing, and they just provide you with accurate color. Now, are we going to match your monitor? Well, no. To believe you brought home the magic monitor from the store is crazy. So what we're going to do is we're going to do the best job that I think of anybody if you were to sort of go to a photo lab. In other words, we're trying to produce your photograph with a high degree of accuracy. And we do that essentially by using what's called an ICC profile, which is sort of like a color filter kind of thing. Question on here is design. You design in RGB. RGB has a wider color gamut than CMYK. This is a subject that I have tried to learn about. I have read about it. I've just talked to people, and every time I learn more, I get a little bit more confused. So essentially, I do what works. And if you design in RGB, you're going to get great colors. If you design in CMYK, they're not going to look as good. Now, can you print CMYK? Yes. You're probably better off converting them to RGB. And the reason is the Mac and the Windows architecture at the printer driver level really only supports RGB. It does not support CMYK printing. CMYK printing is the domain of software rips, the domain of printing presses, things like that. Questions?
Let me pass this around. This is, I had these made up. This is using our ICC profile and using the power driver profile. Just hold the two
So
together.
what Jeff
side by side.
is referencing is the power driver is, if you buy a Sawgrass printer, the power driver is the default printer driver, the default color solution. And I would say in a appropriate and kind way that I don't care for the power driver, because the power driver requires you to essentially give a lobotomy to Corel Photoshop's Illustrator color management. And what we do with the ICC profile is it's integrated into the software application. So you're using the power of Corel and Adobe's color engine by using a color profile. And so to me, if you were to walk down the show, anybody that has a big printer on display and you talk to them, they're going to say, we use color profiles. So Jeff is just showing the differences you get. Oh, hold on. It's a little cute little video. Let's see if I can make it play.
Coach Smart has a difficult decision to make. Should he pick the wrong shade? This could prove disastrous.
I need a whole new set of red ties, but none of these are Georgia red. What do you think?
He's going to the mascot, which is a tried and true approach. It often yields results, but if he's not careful here, this could backfire.
Bingo.
And it's good. Crisis averted.
So the point of the video is you can't match color if you don't know what it's supposed to look like. It's impossible. So if somebody says, well, I'm going to send you a file that's on the screen, you know, just do it that way. You can't do it. So what's the solution? The solution is actually very simple. You print a color chart, you sublimate it, then you take the object that you're trying to match, hold it up against the color chart, find the color that matches, and go back to your computer and design with that color. It's that easy. And so the painful process is you've got to do a color chart. You got to print it, you got to transfer it. We can help you by providing a color chart for you to print. And so can you use your monitor? As I've already told you, you can't. And so how do you know what color to choose? Well, you get, like at a school, you get their color. You get, like in this case, Georgia, you find something that's Georgia red, or Alabama Crimson Tide red, or whatever school. You find that color, have that object. If you're trying to work with corporate America uses the Pantone solid coated color system. Guess what? You got to go buy you a Pantone book, and buy a Pantone book at the art supply store. Turn to the book, find the color that matches, hold it up against the chart, and you are matching like a pro. I mean, you're in the upper 10% of sublimators by telling a client, yes, I can give you the right color. Questions? So this is a slide just in troubleshooting the colors. Bottom line is if you print your color chart and then a year later things aren't working, these are the kinds of things that you'll need to check. But generally, you start with the basics. Nozzle check, dates of your inks, your Photoshop Corel settings, your driver settings. Also, it could ultimately be a heat press. So for instance, if your heat press has gone cold, typically a red, which is one of those benchmark colors, will look a little orange. And that's because yellow sublimates before magenta. And I once had a client where we were sublimating. He says, you know, every once in a while it comes out right. And then his wife chimes in and said, well, honey, it only turns out right when we're only doing one. When we're doing a bunch of them at the same time, it isn't right. And that's when we knew he was under sublimating. Resolution. Sort of a complicated subject, but one you need to understand. When you take a picture with your phone or whatever, you're capturing a block of dots. You need a lot of dots to print with quality, and so when when you take those dots and you print with them, what you've done is you've stretched them out. They now have a dimension, like 8 by 10. And then it's easy to calculate resolution, plus your program will tell you about, well, we've got 8 inches going down here. How many dots do we have? Let's say we've got 800 dots going down. Well, 800 divided by 8 is 100. So we have 100 dots per inch. So bottom line is, for a hard substrate, we need 200 dots per inch at print size. We need 150 dots per inch for soft substrate at print size. And so if this is still confusing, call me, talk to me, and we'll draw it on a piece of paper and so you can get it. The design of the product ultimately is one of the critical factors with making something look attractive. And this is an example of somebody that put signatures into it. It's really classy. Obviously, it's more than a photograph. And this, of course, makes it worth a lot of money. Jeff, you want to talk about your shirt there?
Yeah, and to me, this is one of the most important things is the actual design. So what I've got here, I had Doug in our booth make a $4 shirt with a little reveal transfer on it. Then he did kind of a cool design to make a $20 shirt. Then we stepped over across the aisle to the rhinestone guys, and for less than $1, we added some rhinestones and made a $40 shirt. So every little thing you can do to add value it's not, I'm going to charge 25 now. No, I'm going to charge 35, 40 bucks just by design. Getting the right design in front of the right people in the right market is where it's at.
And one of the reasons I like Corel is because Corel being a vector program, it's easy to integrate rhinestones into your design. The cutter knows where to cut, it knows where to put the rhinestones. Templates. The templates are very valuable for not making stupid mistakes. Cutting off somebody's head, cutting words off. We've got templates, use them. Corel has a feature called Power Clip, which makes templates very easy to use. This is what I call basically stepping up your game with what I call photo templates. In other words, just like we're talking about over here, but instead of just printing a photograph, you're adding a little clip art, you're adding some words, you're possibly dating it. Dating it is a great way to add value to your designs. And so these are the kinds of things you need to think about instead of just doing what the client said to do. How can you get them to be thrilled at the product you produce for them? And after all, it takes very little time to do do these extra things. Condi Design is, yes ma'am.
Can we using Corel draw, make that photo on the left, that on the photo and on template?
Yes. Yeah, she asked, can you do that, Corel? Yes. This is an example of some of our inexpensive downloads at condidesign.com. We created these so you look like a professional without having to recreate all these patterns. They're vector usually, and they look superb. And who is the #1 demographic that most people sell to? Anybody want to guess? Our #1? Female. So young and female have a endless thirst for personalized, unique products, monogram, chevron. So why not sell to them? Art. So a great way to move from photographs and patterns, things like that, also is to incorporate art. Go around, talk to folks that are in your neighborhood, artists, and make a deal with them, license their art. Little St. Patrick's Day coming up. Little combining 2 products together. Little puzzle in a box. Really, really cute, high value. I think this is some wedding invitations, flower girls, things like that. Just precious. Stacked metal. So we're going to have a little video in just a second about taking metal to the next step by layering it. You put a background, you put a foreground, just absolutely beautiful. Lanyap. How many people have ever heard of Lanyap? So Lanyap is just sort of the theme for this entire class, and that is a little bit more, a little bit extra, adding value to whatever you're doing. And that's what causes our clients to rave about us. you know, just overjoyed at the products you're producing. So I did this for my church, and I sublimated on the backside our church principles, if you will, things we're supposed to think about, of course, every day. But it's just a little bit extra. You put on the back of the product the reorder information, and guess what? If you labeled your products, that's your best referral system. Number 3, and our last P, is promotion. And I think there's 2 ways for us to grow our business. Number 1 is sell more products to your existing clients. Think about what you're doing. And in many ways, that's so easy. You freshen up your showroom, put more stuff on your website, try new things. Some things are going to work, some things aren't. But the second way I think is really important to us, and that is, let's find new profitable clients. Let's look at things that we could do that may be outside of our comfort zone, but nonetheless, they're going to cause us to make lots of money. One of the things you can do is if you're a brave person, and if not, you can become one, and that is go mobile. Start tapping into all the activities that are going around you. Set up that green screen. Go to that car show. Take pictures. Sublimate things on site. You don't have to do everything, and it isn't really that hard. How easy is it to run a credit card nowadays? It's very easy. And so there's so many opportunities. And in these kind of markets, hey, it's spontaneous buying. You can make above average profits. So it's just terrific to get into it. And, you know, maybe if you can't do it, find somebody that will do it for you. We're going to let Jeff talk for a while. Jeff, will you tell us about this?
Yep. So this is, this is my little flea market setup. Anybody doing a flea market, open market, anything like that? My flea market in Mobile has an average of 15,000 visitors per week. I'm just give you an idea of what you can do. It's open 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. Saturday through Sunday. There's over 800 booths. 10 by 10 booth. The rent is $45, which includes electricity, which is key. You need continuous electricity. If you think it's going to be sketchy, if there's a guy next to you selling used appliances, you may want to have your own electricity just to keep it going. But with this setup, for 3 years, I documented over $60,000 a year in retail sales, just doing phone cases. And this is how it started out. Simple table, as my son, he's not graduated from high school and gone. But you see, we did it all wrong. We had too many choices, poor presentation, no signage, it was kind of a bad location. And that's one of the things with mobile selling, you gotta kind of narrow it down and kind of guide the client into buying what you want them, what you want to make, what you want them to buy. Simplify it. Too many choices, they stand there too long, they can't make up their mind. They give you the old, well, I'm gonna come back and figure it, I'll come back later. So what we did was we simplified it even further than this. I had books out with designs. I ended up doing just designs. They would pick the design, pick a color, and that was it. And it still was great. This is the equipment I use, just basic stuff. 8.5 by 14 printer. I think that was a 3100 back then, but the SG400 is fine. There's a little heat press that David likes to make fun of that will make you a bunch of money. And you can't pick it up. It's about 60 pounds. Laptop. I have one of the old versions of the cool plate. So laptop, SG400, cool plate, JP14. So you're coming in at, well, here's my displays. Everything from Home Depot. Question?
Did you mainly do iPhone cases? Because it's so hard to get Android.
I did iPhone and Galaxy. That's it. Only one style. And I'll show you what those were. This was my little ticket system. Had my kids helping. They would take the order of the device, whichever pack, whichever design it was it chevron, circles, whatever. And I did the Brooklyn case, which is the rubber insert with the hard plastic outside. So my cost was $40, or $4, I'm sorry. $20 is what I retailed them for, so I was making $16 a unit. At a flea market, at the Arts and Crafts Fair, I would have charged $30. A bridal show, you could have gotten $35, $40. Specialty retail, $40. You can get in front of cheerleading conventions, dance conventions, that kind of thing. That's a $35 market. And like I said, I did the iPhones and the Galaxy S4, S5, Note 3, Note 4 phones. But I average about 75 to 150 sales per week. I would take about 30 white, 30 black, kind of split it up of each model of phone. So for less than $1,200, you can have that same setup. Which comes back to getting the setup paid for. Is you should make your goal to recoup your investment priority one, which is looking for a high profit job. One of them that I do every year is my local district attorney's office. I do name badges and car tags. So I do 150 grand jury name badges at $8 a piece. I'm cheaper than anybody else, even online. 65 staff name badges, 5 car tags. It's an $1,800 sale. Materials, I've got $175 in plus my time, which maybe 4 or 5 hours for a $1,600 profit using the same equipment, the little JP14 and the 8.5 by 14 printer. We have these cost documents that you can get from your account manager. If you call us, we'll send them to you. You plug your own numbers into them. They're Excel spreadsheets, and we also have them for pricing.
Okay, I apologize for going over time. We're gonna have a couple of slides and then we'll finish up. If anybody does need to leave, we've got a coupon for you, $25. We'll be glad to give you. Want to talk about just how to grow your business with a couple of the basics. The first is, if you're lucky enough to have a showroom, you need to dress it up. You need to freshen it up. You need to give it, you know, the distinctly feminine, I think, look to it that even guys like us, we love to see. We love to see the look of value. And it comes to great designs, positioned like you'd expect, not like a flea market, things like that. Incredible. This is a showroom, I think, from a photo store. Photo store was going out of business. Guess why? Because nobody was bringing in their film. So ultimately, these kind of folks had to change or they would have gone out of business. And now you wouldn't even know they were doing photos, would you? I want to show you a video real quick. I think it's worth seeing. It is of a photo store that had gone out of business, and a young lady came in and loved the store, and she decided she would turn it into an amazing success through sublimation and metal art. Fulton photo in Fulton, California, near Anaheim. Lady's name is Gabby Mullinet. She's a rock star in the metal world. So just a couple of things left, and that is host self-fulfillment. One of the best opportunities you can do to grow your business is hire a sales force. And a simple one is go to a pet groomer, set up a little personalized display for people that are bringing in their dogs to buy your products. You cut the pet groomer a little bit of the profit. The pet groomer's business is suddenly exciting. No one takes their dog to a pet groomer because they have to. Fundraising. Think about all the boring fundraisers that we've had to endure. Why not do a fundraiser with personalized products? Hit all the organizations you know of. The best fundraiser is, of course, the Christmas ornament. It's great. You can do it all year long with great products. Guess what? The school has no waste. They have no defective products, and people are going to be excited about the next fundraiser they have. This is one that I helped with for the high school that my kids went to. We really went all out to show them the value. Guess what? They now have a sublimation system in their spirit store. Referrals. Every product you produce needs to have your name on it or whoever's appropriate name on it to get referral business. Show off what you make. Take pictures of everything you make. Post it on your Facebook page, Instagram. If you've got a storefront, play it on the TV. You'll never have enough counter space to show people what you can do. Take pictures of it. It is an amazing way to plant seeds. This is one of Jeff's old Facebook page, Instagram page. Really cool. And our last slide, really, the resources here for Condi. Again, 25 years of doing this. I thought about the cumulative sublimation experience in our company. It probably approaches 300 years. It's what we love. It's what we do. And we look forward to serving you. Okay, let's do our drawing. And Jeff, pull our first name out for me. Anybody else? Okay. Okay, so the first winner of our grand prize is Carlos, and is Casta Graphica. Okay, congratulations. Yay. All right. And we'll come afterwards. I'll tell you how to redeem your prize. Okay, thank you. Congratulations, Jeff. Our second winner looks like Brenda Neal. Brenda Neal, congratulations. Awesome.
That's $250 account credit.
Wow, Jeff. And our third is, looks like American Seashore. Manuel? American Seashore? Going once? Okay. And Matthew with, okay, Deltona High School. Congratulations, $100. Thank y'all. Apologize for going over.
I have coupons. I'll meet you at the door. I have $25 coupons for everybody.
Let me push the stop button over here.
Thank you.